See you. Bye.
The Gospel reading comes from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 16, verses 24 through 28. Then Jesus told his disciples, "If any want to become my followers, let them deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. For those who want to save their life will lose it, and those who lose their life for my sake will find it. For what will it profit them if they gain the whole world but forfeit their life? Or what will they give in return for their life? For the Son of Man is to come with his angels in the glory of his Father, and then he will repay everyone for what has been done. Truly, I tell you, there are some standing here who will not taste death before they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom." The Gospel of the Lord.
A happy Mission Jamaica Sunday to you. Today is the day that we celebrate all of the incredible work that God is calling us all to, either here or abroad. These words from the scripture reading from today really stand out and are perfect as we think about celebrating Mission Jamaica. Jesus says, "Take up your cross and follow me." These are the words that we hear from the Gospel of Matthew today. These are the words that were first heard by Jesus' early disciples. And they continue to be words that all Christians continue to hear Jesus speak to them today. Take up your cross and follow me. These were words not only heard by at least 18 people connected to our church, but words that were actually obeyed and followed and lived into as they caused action in these individuals' lives. This missionary team that traveled to Jamaica this past February responded to Jesus' calling to travel to Jamaica, to serve alongside our brothers and sisters who live there. And together, we were able to see the work of God unfold upon us, to see the work that is able to happen when people join together with skills and new skills to build a new home for a struggling family, to see the ways that doctors and nurses and others were able to come together to share their gifts and to provide medical clinics for literal hundreds of people in just the course of 1 week. Today we hear the voices of 3 of those missionaries who traveled to Jamaica to do this work. And as they share some of their reflections on the ways that they were called to take up their cross and to follow Jesus. Take up your cross and follow me are words that mean risk-taking. They're words that mean stepping out of one's own comfort zone and joining with God in caring for the world and serving as God's hands and feet.
Hi, my name is Chris Hofstad. I shared with Pastor Tyler during the Mission Jamaica trip planning process that I was excited, but also a little nervous, bordering on afraid about this trip. I don't fly very often and had only traveled needing a passport one other time. I knew nothing about building a house, yet I asked to be on the Jabot team. I have been known to faint if I'm in the heat too long, and hearing the returning missioners stress how important it was, once leaving the hotel, to never, ever go anywhere without taking a person with you for safety reasons made me a bit uncomfortable. As you can tell, this was way out of my comfort zone. The returning missioners also told us newbies that the Mission Jamaica directors and their staff have these trips planned out so well we really had nothing to worry about. I can honestly say that this was a very true statement. From the point of leaving Minneapolis, with the required travel paperwork in hand, everything, including transportation while in Jamaica, worksite details, hotel accommodations, and our return flight back to Minnesota went without a hitch. On Sunday morning, our first full day in Jamaica, we were picked up at the hotel by Percy, who was one of our drivers for the week. And he drove us to Providence Chapel United Pentecostal Church, which just happened to be the church where he was the pastor. While driving, Percy entertained us with poems that related to the sights we saw along the way. Once at church, he shared a wonderful message, and then 2 hours later drove us back to our hotel. I jokingly asked Pastor Tyler if maybe he could start picking up members prior to services at our church. Percy's church was built on a hill, which was a little hard to navigate up to by foot, but once we were inside, we saw that it was beautiful and very clean, with the words from Ephesians 4:5 handwritten above the altar. One Lord, one faith, one baptism. We were given a warm welcome by the members. The music was beautiful, and since the doors were open, I imagined how beautiful it must have sounded wafting down into the neighborhood below. Our group worked at the Jabode site Monday through Wednesday. The first thing we did upon arriving at the site was to move all the new lumber, which was currently stacked inside the current home, to avoid it from being stolen, to the outside. I honestly could not wrap my head around the fact that an adult male, woman, and small child lived inside this structure. Not only with all the lumber temporarily stacked inside of it, but after the lumber was removed, you could see holes in the walls that had rags shoved into them to prevent bugs from entering. And the ceiling and the walls looked like they could collapse at any moment. One couldn't help but notice the bags of clothing stacked up in the small bedroom with a bed that was made perfectly every day and a crib alongside it. The current yard appeared to be on some sort of garbage dump site, and extreme uneven ground made it tricky for us to work on and caused the sawhorses that were holding the lumber for painting to collapse at least 4 times. Everyone played a part in the Jabode. I did a lot of painting and hauled fill as part of the bucket brigade. Rhonda North, our wonderful Mission Jamaica Jabode site leader, asked some of us to write Bible verses on the walls and then pray over them. She very wisely reminded us that if we ever felt that we were getting in other people's way, that what we were doing was just as important to this home as what they were doing. Yes, the Bible verses would be painted over, but then they would be sealed in the home forever. I learned that some of the Mission Jamaica staff on site that live in Jamaica were earlier recipients of Jabodes. What a perfect example of paying it forward. Rashawn, our Jabode recipient, showed his appreciation to all of us throughout the 3 days, thanking us often, feeding us, and helped with the build when he returned home from his security job. At the end of day 3, we were all there to present Rashawn with the keys to his beautiful bright yellow 12-foot by 22-foot home, a quilt made by our church quilters, a Bible, and a picture of the VBS kids that collected and donated the money that paid for all of the Jabode lumber. What a great way to end the day. I will never forget this mission trip, not just because of the work that each group did at the Jabode site, the clinics, and the orphanage, but also because of the wonderful friendships, both old and new, from Minnesota, North Dakota, Montana, and Jamaica that evolved from this trip. Will I do it again? I'm pretty sure I will, and even though at times I felt that I was not doing as much of the hard work as others, I continued to remind myself that no matter how big or small each person's tasks were, it took all of us to create this beautiful home in just 3 amazing days. I truly thank God for watching over us and keeping us safe. I would like to close by saying thank you from all of us to those of you that purchased center cut meat tickets, paid for yoga with Marilee, and joined us for Purse Bingo to help us offset the cost of this amazing mission trip. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sarah, and when Pastor Tyler asked me if I would speak and talk about did I take a risk to go on Mission Jamaica, at first I thought, no, not really. I didn't really have any fears, but then I started to realize that I did have one slight fear, and that was about the heat and humidity while working on a build site. But guess what? We got there and God gave us a shady build site, so we were very blessed to be able to take breaks in the shade and visit with the people of Jamaica while we took those breaks. So it works out to work in a hot, humid area, even if you're not a real big heat lover. So anyways, that was something that just amazes me, that God just always provides what we need when we need it. Another question that Pastor Tyler had asked us was, did we hear God say, follow me, to go on the mission trip? And once again, I thought, I don't know if I did or didn't. And then I started to realize several years ago I had gone to the informational meeting to go on Mission Jamaica when Word of Peace was first going to go on the trip. And at that time I thought, no, I don't think this is just quite right for me. Well, obviously God thought it was, so he kept pestering me, and then he decided he needed to make it a little more clear to me, and so he used the voice of Marilee Maxwell. My good friend said to me, oh, you have to go. It's just fabulous. You learn so much, you experience so much, even while you're giving, you're receiving, and it's just truly a blessing, and so you need to go. So I thought about it, and I decided, yep, I think I'll go. And I'm very glad I did, because yes, it's truly an amazing experience that I would highly recommend for anybody. As you share God's love, you also receive God's love and many blessings of friends and fellowship of the people that you're with, the people that you meet in Jamaica. And overall, I think I probably received just as much as what we gave. And it was just so amazing to see what we could accomplish by building a house in a very short time for people that really appreciate it and really need it, because the living conditions are quite poor. And so overall, I think it's just amazing to go and share God's love as He has loved us, that we can be the hands and feet and give to others. So thank you and have a great day.
Good morning. My name is Marilee Maxwell. I want to thank Pastor Tyler for asking me to be part of this Mission Jamaica story. My name is Marilee Maxwell, and I was part of Mission Jamaica 2018, and just this past February, Mission Jamaica 2020, serving as both teams, the construction. I chose the construction team due to inexperience, not having a clue, and something new. He asked to pick out a couple of reflections from the trip, and it's kind of hard because there are so many great reflections, but I did happen to find two near and dear to my heart. My first was reinforced attitude for gratitude. Thankful for so many things in my life: food, shelter, clothing, family, job, friends, purpose, church, and so much more. In Jamaica, adults and children are in need of what I have. The second reflection was stepping out of my box. Isaiah 41:10, I repeat it often. Do not be afraid, for I am with you. Do not be afraid, for I am with you. Do not be afraid, for I am with you. 2 years ago, I was painting boards, mixing and pouring concrete by assembly line and buckets, and hanging hurricane shelters. This year, I wanted to do new. I wanted to do something else. So, with help of the foreman, that was a wonderful person, that is a wonderful person, I crawled across the roof, learned how to pound nails, creating a roof together with walls. Crawling across from one side of the roof to the other side on my hands and knees was exciting. It was new. It was something different that I've never done. I knew I was in great hands. I knew God was watching, and I knew that our team would help me with anything that I needed. Serving others without fear and expectation is a human reward. Will I go again in 2022? If possible, yes, I will go again. Absolutely. There are so many adjectives to describe Mission Jamaica. The excitement of going to a warm place in February, packing donations to take for so many who need so much, bringing donations on the trip and giving them out and sharing, experiencing a different kind of Sunday church service that is a hallelujah praise for about 2.5 to 3 hours, going to the home site, figuring out the order of events, organizing building materials, meeting so many different people, and experiencing such a fun and relaxed culture, getting so dirty and so tired that you just don't care, sharing devotions and insights from each day with your team, coming home and having so many memories, stories of selflessness, fearlessness, and renewed thankfulness. If you're interested in going, please get in touch with me or any of our team members about going in the future and what it was like. And if you have an inkling of wanting to step out of your box, and remembering Isaiah, do not be afraid, for I am with you. Chapter 41, verse 10. Thank you very much.
Thank you to Chris and Sarah and Marilee for sharing your experience there in Jamaica. And thank you to the entire Mission Jamaica team for responding to these words of Jesus to take up your cross and follow me. You know, I think we often hear these words of Jesus's to take up a cross and to follow him as a way of saying we are to endure suffering. That to take up one's cross suggests being burdened by hardship and difficulties and just to keep on going. But as our Mission Jamaica team discovered from this trip, to take up one's cross means so much more. Because of Jesus, we know that the cross is indeed the ultimate outpouring of love. The cross is this place where suffering and God's love meet. It is the place where God's mercy and God's justice are enacted. It is this reversal of earthly power and an outpouring of God's Holy Spirit's true power. So I wonder for you, where is the cross that Jesus is calling you to pick up? Maybe that means serving in Jamaica. I hope in a couple years that might mean serving for many of you, that we might be able to join together and continue this work of building homes and providing medical care for others. But I suspect that for many of you it takes forms in different ways. Perhaps it means caring for aging parents. Take up one's cross might mean to encourage anxious children returning to school. Take up the cross might mean standing up for a friend who has been bullied. Or maybe it means donating to Cross, our local food shelf here in Rogers. Or maybe it means living into our baptismal calling to be the place of justice and peace for the whole world, at home and abroad. Because, see, the cross is not just a place of suffering, but it is the place that God is calling you to join in God's work for the healing and wholeness of the whole world, to enact justice and mercy and peace, to meet suffering with love, and to embody God's love for others. And while this might seem like a big job description for us Christians, we are reminded that we do not go it alone. In fact, we cannot do it alone. Instead, we are called to follow Christ into this enactment of God's love in the world, to follow the one who has the true power to bring healing and wholeness, to follow the one who is the balm for the hurting, to follow the one who endures suffering for our sake, to follow the one who pours out everything so that we might know the abundant love of God that is poured out for us. So, brothers and sisters, happy Mission Jamaica Sunday. Wherever it is that you find God calling you into this world to continue to enact God's love and mercy and justice for others, may you also know that you follow the one who has already called you, who is already sent to bring you God's love and healing and wholeness, and that we are indeed in this together. Thanks be to God.